Okay, here we are starting another day. Here's where I anchored off last night and uh, decided to go ahead and take off today. Although the weather, uh, according to the weatherman, might start getting rough later on today. So I've kind of decided that I'm going to take off, but I'm going to make it a short trip. Uh, I'm going to be heading out to a little town called Alpena, uh, where uh, I'll be probably finding me a marina and tying up there. Here is where I stayed last night, and here I'm anchored off, but I'm anchored right onto the beach. Uh, with my motor up like this, I can basically back up right up to the beach and just step off and step on. I do have a sand anchor that I threw down on the beach and then anchored off uh, on the bow also. So it kind of keeps the boat right on the beach. Pretty nice because if I need to get off and walk over to the bathrooms and stuff like that, or want to go grab something to eat, even though I'm anchored off, it's just one step off onto the beach. So that's a good thing about these little boats having an 18-inch draft is that it can beach. You can beach it, and you can pretty much get off and on the beach without even getting wet if you needed to. Uh, but here's where I stayed tonight. It was nice and quiet. It was a beach. I mean, a park. I'm sorry, a state park. And of course, that little uh, cabin right back there, straight back, right there in front, was the bathrooms. And it even had a snack bar in there. The snack bar was closed around 7, 8 o'clock. So just before they closed, I went over and grabbed me a hamburger and some fries and a Coke uh, last night. And now this morning, as you can see, a little cloudy. And like I said, according to the weather forecast, it's supposed to be a little rough weather coming in, and it's supposed to be for about 2 or 3 days. So I'm taking off anyway. Kind of test the waters right now. Once I get past the breaker wall here, I'll be able to tell whether it's safe enough to travel. I'm not going to be getting beat up or anything like that. If it gets pretty rough out there, I'm going to turn around and come right back to the beach here and drop anchor and then wait out the 2 or 3 days that it might take to for the weather to go by. This is the time of days where you have to check every morning before you take off and make sure that you're going to be okay. And so far as I'm going heading out, it looks pretty nice. It doesn't look too bad. Uh, I'm still on Lake Heron, probably, I would say about halfway up the lake now. Like I said, I'm heading out to a little town called Alpena, uh, and it's supposed to be, you know, nice little historic town. And I looked at the reviews of the marina there. It's also a real nice little marina. So I'm probably gonna, if I can make it there, probably just tie up. It's not a long run today, uh, mainly because it's, like I said, the weather. I'm not sure about the weather. Uh, it's we're bouncing around a little bit, but it's still not bad. Um, and I decided, well, I might as well keep going. What I did is I did get closer to the coastline, and I kind of hugged it a little bit closer than I normally do, mainly because I wasn't sure when the weather might start turning. If it starts turning pretty quick, then I start heading inland and get into a beach somewhere or into a cove or somewhere that I'm not, I'm in unprotected waters here. But so far, it's been doing pretty good. Uh, I did finally make it, and as you can see, here I am at Alpena, and you can see there's the breaker wall, like all the other little places, all the other marinas and coves and beaches. They all seem to have these break walls. Uh, Obviously, that tells you, what the weather, what the lake can do when it's bad weather. They wouldn't put these breaker walls unless they get some serious wave actions there. Here I am at night, and the winds just start picking up and getting worse and worse. So I knew the storm was coming by, so I decided I would stay here for about 2 or 3 days. And it just so happens that there happened to be a fishing tournament going on this weekend. So they had set up all these tents and everything right on the parking lot and by the park. There's a park right next to the marina here. Here's where I tied up, and here's where I stayed for about 2 days, 2.5 days, waiting for the weather to get better and for the weather to go by, because it did start getting pretty rough. The winds are blowing pretty strong for the last 2 days. For the last 2 days, it was still pretty strong. Uh, Here's the local welcome committee here. I guess welcoming me to Alpena. Uh, these guys don't seem to be afraid of anything because they didn't run away when I was walked up to them. Uh, they did kind of keep an eye on me, and you can see they're kind of moving away, but for the most part, they didn't really seem to be scared of anything. So they must be used to having a lot of humans around, because they didn't seem to be afraid or worried about what I was doing. But anyway, the fun thing about this place here is that they had music playing almost every day. They also had uh, food and everything for the fishing tournament. Plus, they were coming in every day with the fish and who got caught the biggest, and their weigh in and who was in the lead and all of this. You can see the winds now are picking up pretty hard now. And the days got worse as the days went on, but good thing that I was tied up to the dock. And of course, the wind was blowing, but it was blowing uh, from the land part. So a lot of these tall buildings and everything were blocking the wind. And it wasn't too bad. Um, Here was an unusual little building that I kind of liked. It was built in a triangular shape. Uh, I guess it used to be like a courthouse or something at one time or another. It was still pretty nice. It was well kept. Uh, Also, on the side of here, on one of the windows, they have a story about a sheriff here that uh, got injured during a gunfight when they heard there was a gangster heading their way. And the sheriff and his deputies there got into a shooting match with them, and it ends up not actually. I don't think it actually killed the sheriff, but it wounded him, and they were able to arrest the gangsters and put them in jail. Interesting little story. It happened way back in the age, and you'll be able to see the notices and all of that. You can pause the film and kind of read the notices on him, who the sheriff was and how he was doing so far. So here he is, Sheriff Charles Lynch, and he was a sheriff back in 1887. And there's a story about the gangster, Blinky Morgan, and he had robbed a bank or something like that, and he was, like I said, heading to Alpena. There's the sheriff there, and nice little story. Just a little bit of history for the little town, I guess. Um, and then after after all of that, I guess he ended up, you know, getting hurt or whatever. But anyway, this is the Michigan Brown Trout Festival that I guess they have every year, and it was fun the whole time I spent here. This tent right here was actually put up for the veterans. One day on a Friday, I think it was. If you were a veteran, you could go into this tent here. They had hot dogs, hamburgers, sodas, all free of charge. They had a little military announcement, commencement series, uh, thanking all the veterans for their service and everything. So we got a free meal out of that, and that was pretty nice. After the veterans thing was over, we went back outside to the regular tents, and here we are at the regular tents. And there, like I said, there was a band playing almost every day, and every day it was different. You know, one day you had country music, the other day you had oldies but goodies music, then classic music. So it was kind of a variety. You could come by and listen to the different kinds of music that they were playing every day. And this went on for a whole week. So uh, the tournament, you know, even though some boats were going out, you know, not all the boats actually went out for the tournament because the weather was pretty bad out there. The guys coming back, they were talking about how bad the weather was, and they didn't go out very far, so they weren't expecting to get, you know, the big trophy fish that they were wanting to get. Um, but anyway, after a few days of being tied up here, you can see here, I'm coming into the dock. I was tied up on the other side of that little shed there. So I came around through the fuel dock and decided to go ahead and fill up. One, because they had a good price on fuel. So not only did I fill up my fuel tanks, but I also had a spare 5-gallon tank that I carried with me, and I filled that up too. And then decided to go test the waters. Supposed to be a pretty good day today. So I didn't figure on having to come back. Uh, and then I went ahead and looked at my weather, then checked my next stop, and decided, well, time to move on. After 3 days, even though I enjoyed this place here, they had a very nice little lounge area where I could sit in air conditioned and watch TV and review my videos and look up the stuff I needed to look up my maps and see what my next destination was going to try and be. I don't necessarily plot to get to a certain place because it's all weather permitting and time permitting. You know, if I do have any problems, what I will do is just pull off anywhere. It doesn't matter where I end up being. But I do kind of plan to be at a certain place just to kind of have like a plan, and I kind of look at it and it makes me kind of think about how long it's going to take me to get, like, let's say to Mackinac City, which is where Lake Heron and Lake Michigan meet. It's one big area, and then once you get across the bridge, underneath the bridge, which is the Mackinac Bridge, you're no longer on Lake Heron, you are now on Lake Michigan. So my goal is to get up there in the next 2 days or something like that, and then I'll be going into Lake Michigan. So far, everything's been going pretty good. Haven't had any issues with anything. And as I was coming out, I could see the weather didn't look too bad, so I thought, you know, well, it looks like I'm going to have another good day. Like I said, after sitting for 3 days, it's kind of nice to go ahead and be able to take off and finish my trip. Not necessarily, you know, sightseeing or anything, but it's more the enjoyment of being underwater, traveling on the boat, looking at different little towns and little places. That's been nice, and that's been interesting. You do get to see a lot of things and meet a lot of people, and I've kind of enjoyed, because I enjoy talking to people anyway, so I do kind of enjoy talking to different people every time, and when I let people know what I'm doing, uh, they, one, if they see the boat, they can't believe I'm doing it on the boat. Two, they can't believe I'm doing it by myself. And three, they just want to hear all about it. What are some of the things I've gone through? What changes would I make? What would I do if I was going to do it again? So it all adds. It's very interesting, and I've had a great time doing this. So far, I'm loving it. I think if I had any regrets as to this trip here, is the only thing I would say is just the gas price. That was it. Everything else has been nice, but the gas price is really what is killing me. It put me way over budget, probably double my budget, as a matter of fact, by the time I get done. As far as calculating how much I spent already, I can pretty much say, if I keep going at this pace and I keep using up the money that I've used up so far, I'm going to end up doubling my budget. So, good thing I had a little bit more extra money saved up so that I could go ahead and still be able to finish. Here we are going out to Lake Heron. As you can see, it looks pretty nice. The sun's out. It's pretty early in the morning. Normally, I find that if you leave early enough in the morning, the winds are kind of calm, everything is pretty nice, and you don't really have all kinds of problems. So, I'll be finding out here shortly whether I'm going to have a good day or not. And as soon as I get into the waters, I'll be on my way. Well, this is all for today. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and have a good day.